Welcome to JC Sports Network. I'm your host, Joe Chap, Red Alert Podcast. We just did an episode earlier today. Unfortunately, Stevie Y had to make his move right after we published the podcast. So it was a little bit of mistiming on his part. Do better, Stevie. We really need you to give us some more content. Now, I'm not crying about it, but that's the way it is. And look, when you're doing content for the Red Wings, the Pistons, the Tigers, or Lions, like you're always busy, always busy. But this time of the year, there's a little bit of time to divulge into what has happened. So the Detroit Red Wings today made some moves, and there was two moves that they made. They traded Robbie Fabry to the Ducks for a conditional fourth round pick in 2025 for Gage Alexander. Why does it mean anything for the trade? Well, that trade pretty much gave the Detroit Red Wings $4 million extra, which that $4.75 million contract that Tarasenko was signed to today for 2 years is like basically you traded Robbie Fabry for Vladimir Tarasenko. And when you look at Vladimir Tarasenko last year, 23 goals, 32 assists, he did pretty well. Unfortunately, and he was when he was in Ottawa, obviously Ottawa struggled last year. It was not just a him issue. Ottawa was just a complete dumpster fire last year. So Tarasenko did a pretty damn good job. He was a key part in Game 6 and Game 7, coming down the pike for the Stanley Cup champion of the Florida Panthers. He got traded there mid-year, and he made some strides. Now, what does this mean for the Detroit Red Wings moving forward? Obviously, the Detroit Red Wings got a top six forward. They got a guy that they can insert into their top six. Is Stevie Y done? I doubt it, because what he has done with the Robbie Fabry trade is what he is. He's basically took Robbie Fabry, traded for Tarasenko. You're paying 0.75 million, like a percentage of what you were paying him over the what Robbie Fabry made, and you're gonna get it's you still got cap room. Now, obviously, they got to sign Cider, and they got to sign Raymond, and those contracts are going to be a key decipher of what they can do down the pike. But I still like you hear them in trade discussions throughout the league, not even just with insiders, but there's people that have speculated them trading for Trevor Zegras or something like that. Jacob Trouba has been a name that's been mentioned. I still think the Detroit Red Wings will make a trade eventually, but we got to cool down this free agency period. Obviously, with the July 4th holiday and Canada Day, it kind of it was a 1 day frenzy, and it's kind of been slow trickling from here on out. So it's going to be interesting to see what Stevie Y does. We talked about this on the Red Alert podcast. A lot of people were upset with the way that free agency was handled. I didn't have a problem with the way that he handled free agency. I thought free agency went as good as it could have. I didn't think you overspent on anybody, so that's good. I didn't think you gave someone too long of a term, so that's good. Obviously, we see what happens when you sign a player long term for a longer term, like 5 years, like Ben Sherratt. You're kind of stuck with them. Andrew Kopp kind of stuck with them. Even though Andrew Kopp can have some good moments and bad moments, it's still that's the risk of signing a player to a longer term. Tarasenko's 2 year deal is a nothing burger, and this is a great signing for the Detroit Red Wings, because not only does it give him a top six forward, it gives him a scoring punch. And Tarasenko has played with Patrick Kane. That is a very interesting dynamic right there. And if you do trade for Jacob Trouba, he's played with Jacob Trouba too. So it's a very interesting time for the Detroit Red Wings. Their roster still has a lot of things that they could do. They have four goalies on the roster right now: Cam Talbot, Alex Lyon, Billy Husso, Jack Campbell. Um, they have goalies. Like they have a lot of goalies, so they can get. They're going to be making a trade there. They're not going to keep all four goalies. I mean, I think they'll keep three, but someone's going to have to go. And someone is at a large cap number, and that's Billy Husso. So we're going to see what happens down the pike. Obviously, the way it is right now, you're kind of hoping that something happens later, but this right now, the Detroit Red Wings are in a good spot, and they got to sign their guys, Raymond and Cider, which they will, to long-term contracts. I fully believe that. But if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, this is a good signing for the Detroit Red Wings, because you're getting a guy who can put the puck in the net. You're getting a guy who has played with Patrick Kane. You're getting a guy who is a top six forward. The underrated, underlooked part of this whole trade, if you're going to look at the downside of this trade of the signing, and then getting rid of Robbie Fabry. Robbie Fabry was great in front of the net. He was the kind of gritty type guy. So you're going to kind of miss that. So you're gonna miss that. But Tarasenko doesn't play a lick of defense, so hopefully they can get him to play a little bit of defense. But otherwise, that's one of the main issues that I have with the signing. But you had to replace the goal production that you lost with David Perron. David Perron got paid in Ottawa, and you basically got Tarasenko out of the deal. So, look, there's a lot more moves to be made by Stevie Y. A lot more has to be done, and I think it's going to get done. And we're going to see what's going to happen over the next couple weeks with the Detroit Red Wings and Stevie Y. But Stevie Y has a lot to do leading up to these next 2 weeks and into the rest of the summer. But obviously, they want to get it done all in the next 2 weeks to the end of July. We'll talk to you in the next JC Sports video on YouTube, but we will talk to you on the regular podcast as well about this signing probably next week. But thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video, and we're going to have more Red Wings videos coming up. So just stay tuned. Thank you.